done it.
We got Susan here from Kirkwood.
How was it, bro?
There's Audrey from Chesterfield.
I'm not hurt.
What's going on? Sam Kulon for Sam OK Fit, checking in with you guys because we're doing well, doing terrific, and we are back with another video. In today's video, I'm going to be recapping my half marathon that I did this past weekend. What? You did a half marathon? In case you don't know, yes, I did a half marathon last weekend. I've been covering that in previous videos. If you're a new subscriber and just watching this video for the first time, I appreciate you. Maybe you want to stop and watch the previous videos so you can get a little more context as far as why I'm sitting down or why I'm doing a half marathon. So I'm going to be sitting down, taking you guys through pretty much the whole experience, trying to keep it as short and precise as possible and keep you guys engaged. Speaking of engaged, it will help this video and help the YouTube channel grow if you give this video a thumbs up, because I think you can get a lot of benefit from this video and future videos that I'm going to be dropping. But without further ado, I got a cup of coffee ready to go. I'm going to sit down and have a chat. All right, so let's dive into it. So the structure of this video is pretty much going to be covering the beginning of the race, what I did prior to the day of the race, nutrition-wise, stretching-wise, mobility, hydration, and I'm going to be telling you what I did prior to starting the race the next day and how the whole race went. And then I'm going to recap it at the end as far as what I learned from this race and what my future plans are for this race. Spoiler alert, my time for the race was 2 hours and 9 minutes to finish 13.1 miles. And I finished the average pace of 9:47. That morning I did wake up about 2:25. Again, considering the night before I definitely went in, which I will show you guys in the B-roll here. So I went in the night before, the day before. I make sure I hit my marks in terms of hydration, make sure nutrition is on point. The only thing I did not do particularly well is because I was just running around with family and hanging out. We pretty much walking all day, which was not ideal. I was kind of nervous about that, thinking okay, the next day hopefully it doesn't affect how my legs are going to be feeling. But life is life. There's nothing you can do about that. You gotta enjoy everything that comes with it, especially when it comes to family time. So that was that. The next day, nutrition was on point, and prior to the running this particular race this past weekend, all my longer runs that I do on the weekends from the previous videos that you guys have seen, I typically have a nice big meal the night before, because when I wake up the next day, I still feel full. Again, if you follow all my last video that I posted talking about nutrition for training, I have a big meal the night before, and when I wake up the next day, I'm not really super hungry. Then I get in some sort of like dextrin, aka G1M Sport. I get that in here in my system, and that has been working particularly well for me. So since it's been working, there's no need to change that, and that's exactly what I did. I got my greens and reds the day before. I got my creatine and the day before, and the night before I ordered fried shrimp, fried rice, which is big, and I had some pizza. Make sure I was nice and full the night before, again because I don't want to have a big meal the next day and just having to sit in my stomach and while running and hoping to digest soon enough before I'm gonna have to hit the porta potties or anything like that. So the next morning came around, took 2 scoops of G1M Sport, which is about 40 grams of dextrin, and with about 700 milligrams of sodium in it. So that was very, very helpful. And I mixed the electrolyte that just dropped, mixed that in my morning shake that I had prior to the run. So fun fact, or maybe pro tip, when you're trying to do a race, make sure you get there on time. But again, your life gets in the way sometimes. But anyways, we got there on time. But ideally, I would have loved a little bit more time to get ready, prepare. And funny story here, by the time I got there, I'm like, yeah, I need to go number 2. There is no way I was running 13.1 miles with a gut full of number 2s. And I think strategically I did not take my strong greens and reds in that morning, because that's typically what happens in the morning. And so I didn't want to do that morning, just because I want to make sure my stomach is nice and good to go. I did number 2 before I left the house, but I definitely want to do another one the next day. I did on the morning of the race, just to make sure I empty the gut a little bit. So there was a line for the porta potty, and I'm like, I am not gonna make this. And fast forward, I barely made it. So which actually worked into my advantage a little bit too, because the race started at 7:30 and gun went up at 7:30, and we did not start running until about maybe like 7:40, because I mean, if you run before, it goes in waves. Ideally, the wave that we ran with was like the slowest like wave possibly, which again worked to my advantage, to our advantage, because I ran with my wife. Obviously, you guys follow me on Instagram, you know that the story already. And so though that part covered all the pre-workout or race nutrition, I did not get the proper time to stretch properly. The amount of stretching that I did was literally 4 leg swings, and I'm like, okay, I guess we're doing this. And I was very hesitant at first, just because the prior week when I did my 10 miler, that one was terrible. Again, if you follow me on Instagram, you know I shared this journey, this story with you guys, because it was very challenging, but my wife kind of pushed me through. And I knew, because I had a longer day, my longer run, when I typically would do in the morning, I waited to the end of the day to get that longer run done, which was a little bit harder on the legs a little bit. I didn't have enough time to stretch properly. My hips would tighten up. So I was kind of worried going to the race, thinking, okay, if I start this race in the next morning, it's going to be quite the challenge to finish without a proper stretch routine. So luckily, that didn't really bother me too much about the race. So I'm very, very thankful for that. But it doesn't mean I feel 100%, which I'm going to be getting into while I'm covering what actually happened during the race. So that was that. The run went off, everything was good, and now we dive into the actual race itself. So the race itself started pretty good, and again, like I mentioned, because we started with a slower group, that definitely helped me, because normally, I mean, if you're a runner, you know this, especially if you start to run a little bit more, you tend to go out the gate guns blazing, thinking, yes, I got all this energy, let me just pedal to the metal, which is not the way to go. You want to conserve as much energy as possible. You want to strain too much you can have, because it's a long race. Again, it's literally a marathon, not a sprint. So thanks to my wife. My wife's like, hey, we need to slow down. So one thing I also do, pro tip, is I don't like, this is the Garmin watch that I'm wearing, by the way. I don't like when the Garmin watch typically is just like telling me how many miles I'm in, because I think it messes with my head a little bit. So I just turn the notification off. I just want to run and feel it, and just keep going. Obviously, you have a mile marker that's telling you, but I try not to focus on that. I just try to focus on the mission at hand, and make sure left, right, and just keep moving. So after going through all that process, again, because we went with the slower group, it kind of helped, because it allowed me, or forced me, to actually slow down. And my first mile was around like 9:47, 9:52. I'll put the pace on the screen for you guys to see. So again, it slowed me down compared to what I would normally do, like 8:40, 8:50, like on the first mile, because I'm feeling good. I mean, my legs felt fresh. I mean, the weather could not be nicer. The weather was perfect. I mean, 70 degrees, sun was out, cool breeze from time to time. The sun came out a little bit from time to time, and on the back end, on the front end a little bit, around 6-7 miles or so. But overall, weather conditions were perfect. But running through and just kind of navigating through, kind of separating ourselves from the pack a little bit. So that was fun. And we just go with the move. It was almost like a talking pace. I was able to have a conversation with my wife, and while we're running around a mile, maybe 2 or so, cool situation happened where a guy saw me wearing I am wearing the exact same t-shirt that I wore for the race, and the guy was like, hey, I like the shirt. I'm like, I looked around, it was having the Go One More headband, and I'm like, I love the headband. So it was kind of a cool moment like that, and a few other cool moments throughout the race, that people knew what BPN was, or what they stand for, as far as that Go One More mentality. So it was kind of cool and kind of surreal. Kind of makes me feel good a little bit. I'm part of a company that is more than just like a supplement. It's a community of people that can just definitely go after it. So running through that race, going through everything, felt good. Mile 1, 2, 3, wasn't feeling strained at all. And my wife and I kept going back and forth, checking with each other, like, how you feeling? I feel great. Doing the slow down. So from time to time, I would check my watch just to make sure, okay, the pace is still within what we can control. And which was, it was like, there were times when like a 9:30 pace, okay, we need to slow down a little bit. 9:40 pace, 10 something pace, so we need to pick it up a little bit. So it's nice to kind of just, okay, I'm going to check my watch, just check my pace, and I'm going to try my best not to look at how far I ran, because I don't want to look at my watch and it's like, oh, I feel like I ran 6 miles, and I'm looking down at my watch and it's telling me, oh wow, you've only ran 3 miles. I think that would be a little gut wrenching, and then he's like, okay, I have a lot of work to do still. So that was definitely good throughout the race. My plan throughout the race was I'm going to let 40 grams of the G1M do its thing till about maybe like mile 4 or 5, and just kind of, you know, navigate through how I feel in terms of energy wise, and then I'm going to assess and, you know, determine if I'm going to be taking any sort of goo or Stingray or drink water that's on the along the race line. So I felt good to about mile 5 or 6. I'm like, you know what, just to make sure, because you don't want to put yourself in a position where you are going to be, you know, it's too, by the time you like, you know, taking some energy or hydration in, it's too late. But you want to kind of just like, you know, okay, I know I'm good, but I think I should definitely take something right now. So luckily there was a nice little stopping point. Then I stopped, grabbed Gatorade, grabbed water, kind of just drank it a little bit. And while I get to like mile 6, that's when I got the Stingray energy, and I kind of just like, you know, took 2 down. And those Stingray packets, about 24 grams of carbs each. I took 2 down, so that was good. 40 grams of carbs right there. You know, felt good, kept moving. I mean, it was definitely a lot easier at this point than I was anticipating. Training for this race, I never actually ran 13.1 miles. So in the back of my mind, that was messing with me a little bit. But at the same time, okay, I knew I failed when I did 9 miles, and I knew I failed I did 10 miles. So I knew, okay, if I can finish 9 to 10 miles, I definitely have at least 3 more. It might not be the fastest mile, but I can definitely finish this race. So after the whole thing was said and done, we ran through, you know, now at mile 9. I mean, the weather was still beautiful. People were chanting all along. The awe of what the human body is capable of, kind of just like, wow. Because we got to like mile 6 or 7, and you already saw people like turning around and doing loops and just turning back. And I'm like, and you see all kinds of shapes and sizes, like big dude, strong dude. There was a kid that was just, I mean, I'm not sure if he's a kid, like already going past through, while we're still on like mile, like, you know, 7 or 8 or so. And I'm like, it is amazing to me. And they were just like booking it. And it's just amazing to me how what the human body is capable, truly capable of when it's properly trained. Of course, I'm assuming these people have been running for quite some time. So anyways, we got through it. At mile about 10 or so, I had another Stingray energy, just to make sure, again, I'm making sure I'm staying ahead. I'm not falling behind in terms of nutrition, or, you know, making sure I'm fueling my body to make sure throughout the race, you know, legs felt great, you know, body felt great. Nothing was achy at all. I was just, I mean, striding through. But one of the few obstacles that we definitely encountered was the course overall was definitely a great course. It was flat all along, with the exception of few like hills in that mile 10. And then we got to a point when, like, in mile 10 and a half, there was, the hill was kind of steep. Then we had to make the decision, okay, let's preserve our energy a little bit. Let's walk or speed walk through this, and then let's see what's on the other side that we navigate. And shout out to the homie Hella Good and the BPN podcast, by the way, because I was listening to the podcast, and Hella Good mentioned something. Again, obviously, Hella Good, if you don't know who Hella Good is, it did the transatlantic race all across America. And it was talking about, you know, initially, like, it was trying to, like, you know, I mean, like, beast through the whole thing. And then he had a few knowledge base that people that told him, like, you know what, if you can't see the hill in front of you, walk it. So again, it's not as drastic as that, but I just thought, I remember that, okay, I'm gonna preserve my energy a little because it's very hilly, and just kind of walk through it, because okay, I know that's the top right there, so we're gonna walk it, and then we're gonna, you know, see what's on the other side that we're gonna navigate through. So luckily on the other side, it was kind of flat all along. Then we got to a place where it's kind of just like, you know, steep. We walked out a little bit, and we saw 35-degree downhill about like mile 11. And again, because the 225 pound dude, like, running downhill, it's not great for your joint. And again, you have to just take that you know, assessment at that point. Okay, I'm gonna walk this and speed walk until I start running it, because I don't want to hurt myself before I finish the race, especially getting that close to the finish line. So we walked that. So that was maybe a handful of 3 different situations where we had to like walk it, but for the rest of the time we actually ran through the whole thing. And which again, I think that's one of my goals, not to walk at one bit, and it's just to make sure I finish the race. And I just finished, I want to finish strong. Before we got to the finish line, by the way, I got to about 13, you know, you see that the last turn to get into the half marathon mark, and there's a straight line that pretty much is beelining for the full marathon. And I'm like, there's no way at that point in time, when I'm literally like 0.3 miles away from finishing, that I can see myself and I'm like running another full. Like my body would, I mean, I probably could have gotten it done, but I was happy that I was only doing half marathon. So the finish line, it was glorious, it was fun. Finished at, again, 2 hours and 9 minutes with a pace of 9:47, and yeah, it was a very gratifying feeling to finish the race. And did like quick body check. My legs feel fine, you know, nothing was too like stiff or nothing feels achy. I was good. I wasn't hungry, I wasn't starving. I was thirsty a little bit, and then I felt great. I mean, granted, obviously adrenaline is still pumping through, and when you lean down a little bit, it's like, okay, I don't want to do that anymore, because your legs is just like super, like, you know, fatigued from that point in time. Overall, I felt really, really good. So recap and lesson learned from the whole process, from the whole race in general. It's definitely a different avenue and a different place to do anything like fitness related, coming from a bodybuilding standpoint to more of like an endurance like space. The sheer, and I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about this alone, the sheer energy of like everybody, I mean, all shapes and sizes of people just like in the community just running and doing something very active and moving. It's very inspiring. It's such a community of people that typically just like cheering each other on. Like, you know, it's not, oh, look at this guy, like, look at that guy. No, it's like, come on, let's go. Like, everybody's cheering each other on. I mean, the group of people standing by the side, you know, by the roadside, just cheering and clapping with the cowbells. And I mean, I wouldn't lie to you, that was definitely encouraging to do. I was cracking a joke with my boy Max, like, you know, wow, I would imagine if your workout was like this, you just have a bunch of people just cheering you on while you're going through like RP coaches on leg day. That would be quite the scene for that. But overall, it was quite the experience. Again, like I said, you know, seeing people recognizing the BPN brand out there on the race, and it's like, you know, even people that are talking about, you know, Nick Bear, I was like, wow, it looks like that, you know, Nick Bear kind of guy or whatever. Not knowing, I mean, I'm not sure, because I took my t-shirt off at that point in time, because I put it in my back pocket because I didn't want to have my nipples chafe. So it was cool to, like, you know, be associated with like people that literally go one more. And but overall, it's a personal challenge for myself. Also, never really do for anyone. Personal challenge for myself. Something that I really wanted to do with my wife, and I accomplished that. We crossed the finish line together. You know, it definitely pushed me out of my comfort zone. Something I'm not really familiar or used to doing. You know, so I mean, overall, I think I want to prove it to myself too, like a bodybuilder of, you know, 225-pound bodybuilder can do something endurance. And again, I would be remiss if I'm not saying, I've mentioned in previous videos that Nick Bear definitely is definitely one of the motivations for that. It's funny because he actually made a post the other day comparing like when he first did his marathon compared to where he is now. Just the body structure changes from there. Like the fact that he did a marathon like weighing, I think it was like about 225. I'm not sure how big it was. It was massive. I'll put the picture on the screen for you guys to check that out and see the comparison there and see what he is now. Is just mind-blowing. And so to say you're not drawing any sort of motivation from that is, you know, I'll be lying if I said that did not motivate. But overall, the goal from doing this marathon is getting one to something pretty challenging and fun with my wife, because my wife is definitely the person that runs out of our group, and you know, just to be able to accomplish that and do that with her is definitely challenging and fun. So what now? What am I gonna do after this? So right now I'm just, you know, I don't want to stop running, of course, because I think, again, one of the goals is I just want to be active. I want to be an hybrid. I want to be an athlete. I want to be, you know, if I want to go for a run, I go for a run without huffing and puffing, because I should be able to do that. I don't want to be put in a box. Oh, it's just a bodybuilder, or you can do this or you can do that. I want to be able to do anything I want to do in terms of like being athletic, and that is my goal, to keep doing that. So, you know, just tapping into different things that, you know, out of the quote unquote bodybuilding realm is my challenge, is what I want to do, to push my body, because you only have one body, and you have to see what this body is capable of. So if there's any challenge out there, if there's anything that can, you know, hopefully inspire you to do, and I put a poll on Instagram the other day. I feel like I mentioned a poll on my Instagram stories, or in my YouTube videos. I put a poll out there talking about, you know, why do people, what's stopping people from accomplishing a lot of their goals? Is it lack of knowledge or lack of discipline? I'm glad a lot of people, you know, said lack of knowledge, lack of discipline, because the knowledge is out there. Like, I didn't hire a coach. I just went online. I'd look at it. I look for an app. The app that I'm using, I use a Roman Hall. And that's what I use to train for this marathon. So the information is out there. You seek out the information and you just put, you know, action and plan and you just execute. If you keep waiting for somebody to, like, you know, help you out or feed you the answers, you are going to be waiting for a long time. So the answers are, I mean, again, we live in a very digital age that all the answers, all the resources out there. You just have to look out and look for it and just make it happen. So that is the marathon recap, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Again, appreciate you guys for tuning in onto this journey. This is not the last journey. This is not the last feat that I'll be taking on. I'll be taking on more feat in the future. What exactly that's going to be, I'm not sure yet. So that means you have to stay tuned on the channel. You have to make sure you like, you have to subscribe, you have to comment, you have to help the algorithm so we can keep pushing this channel and keep inspiring each other. This is Samuel Knoll from Samuel K Fit. Checking out, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
How you feeling, bro?
Like I said, there's a difference between hurting, injured. I'm hurting, but not injured. It sucked, but it's a good kind of suck. I feel good. Less a little crampy, but I feel good. I feel accomplished.
Fucking jacked too.
My calves. My calves, though.
Damn.
Like, forget doing calves in the gym. Just go run.
For a half marathon.
Oh shit! Look at that. Ah, okay, cramping. I'm not gonna flex anymore. It's good, man.
Yeah. So, are we doing a full marathon at some point?
TBD.